A statistic just came out that I heard about, and I don't know all the details of how this study was performed, but ultimately the results showed that women found men attractive only 4% of the time, while men found women attractive 60% of the time. Some people conclude from that, they think, well, that must just mean that women are not attracted to men, but that's not true. Women are definitely attracted to men, but it's different. You see, this study was just based on images, and it probably is no surprise to you to learn that men are typically more visual when it comes to attraction than women are. There's just a difference. So the question then becomes, what is it that women are attracted to? And a lot of men really try to turn this into one thing. They'll be like, oh yeah, well, women are just attracted to money, or women are just attracted to power. But women are actually a little bit more complex. And there's a lot of reasons, I think, that you could look at as possible reasons for this. Things like, women need to be a little more choosy when it comes to their partners because, with the risk of pregnancy, there's more risks there than there is for men. The real question then becomes, all right, what can you do to be more attractive to your spouse? And this is the question that I'm going to try to answer in this video. First of all, I had to say that not all women are the same. Some women find different things attractive than men do. And this is noted if you ever have many conversations with men, you find out some men are attracted to some physical feature more than another. And men are different in what they find attractive. There's definitely some overarching similarities, but there's also some definite differences. And it's the same way with women. Some women are attracted to some specific thing. Maybe it's they find one woman will find muscles to be more attractive, and maybe another woman will find it more attractive if the man has a lot of money, and maybe another woman will really find attractive when the man's driving a really nice car. But again, I pointed out earlier, you can't narrow this down to just one thing. However, there is kind of a pattern. Obviously things like personality and intelligence and the physical appearance are going to play into that. And if people try to deny that, it's just, whether they agree with it or not, just it really does seem to manifest that those things are very important. But there's another element that seems to manifest, and this is different forms of power. And power can manifest in a lot of different ways. And some men try to, shame women that they're attracted to this. But people don't typically choose what they're attracted to. They just are. It's like, men are attracted to certain things, certain appearances, and men don't choose to be attracted to that. They just are. And the same thing with women. So there's no point in shaming someone. And if you look at this from some different perspectives, this makes a lot of sense. If a woman is attracted to someone who's more powerful, she's more likely to be safe and taken care of and protected. At least that could be one assumption. Women may interpret power in different ways from different people. For some, it might be manifested in them having a very kind of assertive or ambitious personality or set of behaviors. It might be in the form of, being someone's boss, or having a kind of a high-powered job or career, or maybe having a nice house or a nice car or a lot of money in the bank. There's a lot of different things that can be kind of interpreted to be different forms of power. And it's true. This is initially an attractive thing for most women. However, guys, you get too focused on this. Okay, this is just the initial thing that draws them in. This is kind of like when you're driving down the highway and you see one of those signs and it's got the big picture of the burger, and you're like, I'm pretty hungry, and then it makes you want to kind of stop by and check it out. There are a percentage of men who are very, very good at putting up all the most attractive, best signs and drawing in the most women. And where typically a lot of these men fail, in fact, I'd say most men fail, is once the woman goes into the restaurant and she starts to receive service and she tastes the food, she's very disappointed. Let me explain to you why. Imagine she goes in the restaurant and the waiter is just a jerk and he doesn't listen to her order, gives her the wrong thing. It's cold and and the food tastes bad and the place smells bad. I mean, she's gonna leave. She's gonna leave that restaurant and she's never going to come back. And this is a very good parallel to the way that marriage works for so many men. They did a good job putting up the sign. They got the woman to come to the restaurant. And then after that, they have this terrible marriage relationship. So there's really 4 categories of things that you need to be aware of within your marriage relationship. And I talk about these in my book, The 4 Loves of Marriage. But let's go over these. So the first one in your marriage that you need to really attend to is, I categorize it as friendship. But this is basically your ability to talk to this person, your ability to relate to this person, your ability to listen to this person. It's all the characteristics that you think of in having a good friend. And a lot of people say, oh, you don't want to get listed as the friend. And yeah, initially with the sign, you're not going to use friendship to bring them into your restaurant. There are other things that bring them in. And yeah, it typically is forms of power or personality manifested, with power that bring them in. But I'm talking about once they're already in the restaurant. Okay, so you already married this woman. Friendship is super important. You guys need to do things and enjoy each other's company when you're doing these things. Choose hobbies that you guys like to do together and have a good time. Be a friend with this person. There is a very famous doctor, Dr. John Gottman, and he talks about that he can look at marriages and he can determine if a marriage is going to last or it's going to fail. And a lot of these markers, if you look at them, these little things he points out, it's friendship. These people being able to laugh about things and be able to get over things and being able to calm each other down. I mean, it's just aspects of friendship. And if you are friends with your spouse, it's going to make so much difference. This is really the backbone of having a good marriage, is becoming friends. All right, next 2 is romance. And a lot of guys, they think that romance is sex. Now, obviously, the English language is dumb, and what does romance really mean? It's a word, and what I'm trying to capture with this word is the idea of courting or dating your spouse. Okay, this is gestures that are romantic gestures, like looking into her eyes, or telling her how amazing she is, or how lucky you are, or these kinds of things. I mean, if you don't know how to do this kind of stuff, watch some chick flicks. And now chick flicks, unfortunately, typically only focus on the first part, which is the getting the woman into the restaurant, and they don't focus on the other aspects of it. But they do give a couple clues in there. It's interesting enough. I'm just going to throw this in here. I'm squirreling a little bit on this one. I'm following a rabbit hole, but they did a interesting analysis. I was listening to some lectures by Jordan Peterson, and he was explaining that the ultimate story for a woman is the Beauty and the Beast story. That's like the classic, most erotic, kind of story, and it's taming something powerful. And I think the point there is something powerful. And so really you need to work on yourself. You need to be the best you that you can be. Now, it doesn't mean that you should be a violent monster, but being a powerful person. So anyway, going back to romance, courting, the second relationship, you need to work on that. You need to be taking her on dates. You need to be sending her love notes. You need to be, reassuring with words. There's a book called The 5 Love Languages, and this book, it talks about that there's different ways that you can express love to your spouse. One is words, one is service, one is quality time, one is gifts, and one is touch. And when they say touch, they're not talking about sex. They're talking about hugs and holding hands, these kind of things. Make sure you're doing those things. This is part of a romantic relationship. Now, the third relationship that I talk about in my book is the sexual relationship. And this is another really important thing. And sex is so much more than just pleasing yourself. You need to learn to find out how to make it pleasurable for your spouse. You should be focused on helping your spouse to have a good time, because guess what? If they're having a good time, they're going to want to do it more often, and they're going to want to get better at it, and they're going to want to experiment more. And it's going to be a more wonderful relationship for both of you if you can make it enjoyable for them. So you need to find out what kind of things your spouse likes to do, and what you can do to make it enjoyable for your spouse. And if you can do that, it's going to improve every aspect of your marriage. One of their first goals with your sex life is helping your spouse to feel loved and comfortable and accepted. And there's so much more. I talk about it in my book, The Four Loves of Marriage. I think it's in my bio. You can check it out. The fourth category or relationship that you need to manage in your relationship, if you think of this almost like different aspects of service in a restaurant, is familial obligations. Okay, there's a family relationship, and there are certain expectations that your spouse is going to have. You need to find out what those are, and then you need to try to talk to them about it and try to make this make them reasonable, make them workable, make them manageable, and then try to fulfill them as best as you can. And these are a lot of times things like, who's going to take out the trash, who's going to vacuum the floor, who's going to pay the bills, these kinds of things. And especially it gets a lot more complicated once you have kids, but also gets more rewarding when you have kids if you do it right. But now you've got them in the restaurant. Here they are. These are the four things, the four aspects or categories that women are looking for in a restaurant. Like, how does the food taste? How is the service? These kinds of things. And so if you can manage these four relationships in your marriage is going to be wonderful. But I mean, a lot of people have to get over this first hump of trying to get him into the restaurant to begin with. But once you're there, once you're married, don't give him terrible service. Don't give him terrible food. Make it wonderful for him. And if you do that, you can have an amazing, awesome relationship, a wonderful marriage. Marriage can be the best thing in the world. Hopefully this advice is helpful for you. Please subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you so much. Bye.